presentation of Fox Sports.
We are sports. We are Sun.
Last night, Brad Miller delivered in the clutch, propelling the Rays to their 6th consecutive extra inning victory. Tonight, right-hander Alex Cobb goes to the hill, looking to tame the Angel attack and continue his recent run of success. Late night with the Rays from Southern California starts right now. We welcome you to Angel Stadium on a warm summer evening here in Southern California. The Rays and the Angels set for Game 2 of this 3-game series. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to an evening of Rays baseball from the West Coast with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. We'll hear from Alex Cordry throughout the evening as well. Rays winners last night 2-1 in 10 innings on the game-winning hit, as it turned out, by Brad Miller. But it was Evan Longoria who opened the scoring in the first inning with a home run, and that's something Kevin Cash says he is looking for a lot more of.
You know, when you look at Evan Longoria and you go over the last 3 weeks and look what he's been able to do, there's a lot to like. First of all, he's been very aggressive. In his last 17 games, he's walked just one time, but you'd love the production. He's right now in the midst of a 7-game hitting streak. He's hit safely in 15 of the 17 games, and you see where the average stands. 3 home runs, gotta love 16 runs driven in. That's almost 1 per game. And he's one of those guys that when he gets hot like this, he can carry a team for quite a while.
Rays going up against the Angels. They are 13th in the league in runs scored, but they have Mike Trout back, and behind him, Albert Pujols, who homered last night, now 9th on the all-time home run list.
You know, and when you look at Albert Pujols, the numbers for the season may be down just a little bit from what you're used to from this guy, but he is always a threat, and over his last 7 games, he is proving that. That average of 360, he's hit safely in 6 of the 7 games, so there's been some consistency there. 3 multi-hit games, and you can see 3 home runs. Oh, by the way, he's homered in each of the last 2 games coming into the All-Star break, and obviously the home run last night coming out of the All-Star break. So Albert Pujols can still get it done, and Rays pitching still has to be careful with this guy because he's always a threat when he's in the batter's box.
And after the win last night, the Rays opened the day in 2nd place in the American League East, holding down the top wild card spot. We're just moments away. The Rays and the Angels coming up next. Rays and the Angels go at it tonight from Anaheim. Rays a game up in the season series after last night's victory. They lead the Angels 3-2 with this one left and one here tomorrow afternoon before the Rays move on to Oakland for a 3-game series against the A's. Rays coming home off this road trip to face the Texas Rangers for 3 and then the Baltimore Orioles for 3. All of that begins on Friday night, the 21st, with Texas coming into Tropicana Field. Let's take a look at the starting lineup here for the Rays, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Malik Smith is going to lead it off. He'll be followed by Corey Dickerson, the DH, and then Evan Longoria hitting third, playing third. Logan Morrison, a look at him in the Rays dugout there. Hits cleanup at first, followed by Steven Souza Jr. Brad Miller at second base. He'll hit sixth in front of Adeiny Echeverria at shortstop. Shane Peterson is in left field hitting eighth, and Jesus Sucre will do the catching. Wilson Ramos, a little bit of a tweak of his left hamstring, running the bases last night, so Sucre gets the start behind the plate.
And that lineup will be going up against the right-hander for the Los Angeles Angels, and that is J.C. Ramirez. And how about this? In his career, this is his first season of starting at the major league level. He had 111 appearances out of the bullpen before putting into the Angels starting rotation on April the 14th. Has not looked back from there. Those are his season numbers. As a starter, he's 6-7 with a 4.41 earned run average. And his last start against the Texas Rangers, he went 6 scoreless, gave up just 2 hits, did walk 5 in that game, but was able to pitch out of some trouble and keep the Rangers off the board and picking up that 8th win. Let's take a look at the Angel defense and see how that's going to line up here tonight behind J.C. Ramirez, brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. And in the outfield left to right, we have Cameron Maben, Mike Trout, and Cole Calhoun. Across the infield, third to first, Yunel Escobar, Andrelton Simmons, Cliff Pennington, and Luis Valbuena, with Martin Maldonado back behind the plate.
Well, the Rays will start tonight 48-43 on the year. 6th in the league in runs scored. And they would like to see the offense start to percolate a little bit more. Nothing wrong with a win, a 2-1 win last night in 10 innings. But they're used to multiple runs, particularly early in games.
Well, and you know what, Dwayne, interesting you say that. When you look at J.C. Ramirez, the most hits he's given up, the most runs, earned runs, and home runs given up all have come in the first inning. And you've got a Rays lineup that has been very good at scoring early, and a pitcher that when he has struggled, it has been in that first inning. So let's see if the Rays can come out and jump out to an early lead.
Well, here is Malik Smith stepping in to start this one. Ramirez delivers, and that one off the mid of Maldonado and to the backstop.
An inauspicious start for the Los Angeles Angels. That fastball getting by Maldonado all the way to the backstop may not be a good sign.
The foul ball right back into the stands. The count is 1-1.
J.C. Ramirez, like I said, converted reliever. Fastball, slider, curveball is what he will feature.
The chopper charged by Simmons, and his throw to first in time to get the speedy Malik Smith.
J.C. Ramirez, interesting, one of those few guys that does not like pitching at home. As you could see, the breakout in 9 games, 1-4, 544. In road games, obviously, that's where he's done his damage. 7-3, 3.60. Just the opposite for Alex Cobb. Loves pitching at home, not the same results on the road.
Well, here's Corey Dickerson, and he's trying to find that form that earned him a trip to the All-Star game. Right now, he's 4 for 38. And with that, still third in the league in total hits.
A little bit of a slide, and you figured there was going to be a little bit of regression because Corey had been so consistent for so long that at some point, you know, hitters go through a little bit of a slide. That's just the normal process of a long regular season.
And there's a base hit past the diving Balbena. A turn at first, and Dickerson is aboard. And the Rays have the first base runner of the game.
Well, a sloppy breaking ball there by J.C. Ramirez, and Corey Dickerson jumps all over it. And maybe that jump starts him here early in the game when that offering just kind of rolled into the strike zone, and Corey Dickerson hammers it out into right field.
Well, here is Evan Longoria. Not only did he open the scoring last night with his 13th home run of the year, but this is a place where he has loved to swing the bat. Comes home, gets to play in front of his family and friends. See here at Angel Stadium, a .311 lifetime average. Dickerson back in at first.
Yeah, there's something about coming back home. You know, for some guys, they can settle in and put up numbers like Evan Longoria. Other guys, you know, put a lot of pressure on themselves, playing in front of a lot of family and friends.
Ground ball headed right through the middle of the infield and into center field, and Longoria has himself a base hit with Dickerson moving into second.
Yeah, we just talked about it. J.C. Ramirez really struggles in the first inning in a lot of different categories, and right now the breaking ball has not been sharp. And then that pitch right there stays up and out over the plate, and Evan Longoria just takes it right back up the middle, and here come the Rays.
When the Rays faced Ramirez at the Trop, Dickerson opened with a home run in the first inning, and 2 outs later, Logan Morrison homered off him in the first. And those were the only 2 runs the Rays got off Ramirez in 6 2/3. That one just missed pretty close there, ball 1. We go back to the 22nd of May when Morrison hit that 2-1 pitch into the seats and right at the Trop.
Yeah, then J.C. Ramirez really settled in, like you said, and that was the end of the scoring. Bottom of the first inning, and he would pitch well into the 7th.
And a close take, this one down, 2-0.
You know, and you would think too, it's interesting that the first inning is his worst inning when he's a converted reliever. Because as a reliever, you come in, you only may pitch 1 inning, and you've got to come in and be on point from pitch number 1. And as a starter, that has not been the case with Ramirez.
He gets a strike in there on the corner. 2-1. "17 starts, 14 runs coming in the first inning against Ramirez." Now the fastball. And he can get that fastball up there in the mid-90s, as we just saw there.
And it's sneaky because he's very smooth mechanically. You know, you see some guys that are herky-jerky, and they almost send the signal. This ball's going to have some heat on it. But Ramirez, very smooth with the delivery, and then out in front, quick hand, and that ball jumps towards Maldonado.
And a cut and a miss. Morrison out on strikes, and that one registered 99. Something extra on that one.
Mid-90s plus a few. How about that? You know, it's pretty special when you can throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and then add to it. Give me 3-4 more. I mean, that's almost not fair.
Well, there's the spread so far, 78-99. Here's Steven Souza Jr. And there's a strike.
Just very easy mechanically, and the one thing that the Rays have going for them is they have seen J.C. Ramirez before as a starter, and so they've got a book on him, and they realize the type of pitcher he is. But if you don't see him very often, you can see how he could be dangerous because he's just so deliberate, smooth. We just saw a 90-mile-an-hour slider. We saw the fastball from 95 to 99, and it will get on you in a hurry. And he put up a nice line against the Rays. We were talking about that earlier.
The foul ball and the fastball to 96. Just when you think you've seen the best, as we saw against Morrison, 95, then to 99. And that 96 right there, and a little foul ball. And it puts Souza Jr. down in the count 0-2.
Well, you're in straight protect mode now, and Souza Jr., he's been able to do that before. Guys that have big fastball try to use the middle of the field.
This one is fouled back.
We saw more.
He went up to 98 on that fastball.
Yeah, well, and that's what right now all the Rays are taking note of. Okay, he's gonna live at 95, 96, 94 in that range, and then when he wants to really come at you, he's able to get it to 98, 99. They'll take note of that. I don't know how much good that will do them, but they'll at least understand it's a possibility.
Pitch outside. 1-2.
I mean, I could get in the box and J.C. Ramirez could tell me, I'm coming with the A+ heater here, and it's not going to do me good for you. I hope you throw it for a ball. Just don't hit me.
Upstairs. So now it's 2-2.
Another one of these starters, too, that is exclusively out of the stretch. We see that more and more around the league, trying to really simplify things. Feel that there is no loss in stuff.
Yeah, that used to be the concern, but apparently all the body of evidence is that there's not much, if any at all, drop-off in velocity out of the stretch versus the windup.
And so then why not? You're going to need the stretch because you're going to have base runners. I don't care how good you are, obviously. So you just use the stretch, and it's easier to fix when things go wrong.
There's a little tap. That's a foul ball. Bobbled by Maldonado, but he made contact with it in foul territory. So called by Pat Holberg, the plate umpire.
By the way, what is your take on the look of J.C. Ramirez? I didn't even know that they still made those old school style stirrups. I kind of dig it.
Yeah, it's a throwback look. Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah. Yesteryear, I'm going to start singing.
Well, there's a swing and a miss. Souza Jr. missed the slider. 2 strikeouts in the inning. We go to the bottom of the first, no score. Rays and the Angels tonight in the second game of the series. We'll take a look at the Los Angeles lineup presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Cameron Maben's going to be the leadoff man, followed by Cole Calhoun, and then Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, Yunel Escobar, and Andrelton Simmons in the heart of the lineup. Luis Valbuena hits seventh. Martin Maldonado, the catcher, eighth, and Cliff Pennington is in, batting ninth, playing second base.
Well, and Alex Cobb's going to take the mound tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays, and he's on a nice little run as he looks to make his 19th start. His last 6, he's 3-1, 2.38 earned run average, and an opponent's batting average against him just 196, and he's one out in that stretch shy of averaging 7 innings per start. That's exactly what he gives the Rays. He pitches deep into games, takes stress off the bullpen, and most of the time is very effective.
Well, here's Cameron Maben. And the first pitch to him is up. 1 ball, no strikes. The last time Cobb faced the Angels was at the Trop on the 23rd of May. And Maben and Trout opened with back-to-back home runs off him. That's a strike. 1-1. It was Maben's 3rd home run of the year. Belting it out to left center field. And then Trout followed on the very next pitch and hit one out. 2-1 the count.
Yeah, and even in that game, Alex Cobb was able to pitch into the 8th inning. Took the loss, but he's a guy that's going to battle. He's going to do whatever it takes to get deep into a game. Find a way to get outs. That's Alex's MO.
There's a liner, and it's handcuffs Echeverria, but he picks it up and throws out Maben. That's the first out.
Yeah, that ball came right off the heel of the glove, and he can laugh about it now because he was able to make the play, but just fortunate that that ball didn't come up and catch him in the face. Ball was hit hard by Maben. He had a little knuckling action. It may have gotten him in the face. That got up there pretty high. Stayed with it.
And with Cole Calhoun hitting second, the Rays employ the shift. Echeverria goes to the first base side of second.
I think I circled him, Dwayne. He's got a tough glare on the telestrator right now.
Yeah, and a great job, though, under adverse circumstances. Calhoun hitting .240. He has 12 home runs. And that first pitch a little bit high.
You know, Alex Cobb is going to do whatever he has to do to record outs, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure I circle the right guy. Such a parallel.
Honored just to be in the presence. 1-1 the count.
Never been so ashamed of myself so early in a game. Usually it takes me a while to build up.
I admire your humility for that. 1 out, bases empty. That's a strike. 1-2.
That's been the big secondary offering there for Alex Cobb, and you know, I'm sure we'll get into it as the game goes along. But the difference of usage, the last full season in the big leagues for Alex Cobb between the curveball and the split changeup, it's really night and day, and it's amazing still able to have sustained success.
The tapper, this will be charged by Echeverria. And out at first with a count of 1-2. The Rays had Echeverria, the only guy on that side, and he throws out Calhoun.
The very detailed scouting report there on Cole Calhoun pays off. And let's look at the rest of the Rays defense, brought to you by Golden Diamond Source. In the outfield left to right, we've got Peterson, Smith, and Souza Jr. And then across that infield third to first, Longoria, Echeverria, Miller, and Morrison, with Jesus Sucre getting the call tonight behind the plate.
Well, in the open, we highlighted Albert Pujols, but mentioned Mike Trout back active last night. And these are the two guys, Trout and Pujols, hitting 3 and 4 in the lineup. And through Cobb's career, he's had trouble. A lot of pitchers have had trouble with these guys, but they are combined 11 of 18 against him with 3 home runs. And a roller. Echeverria busy here in the first. Up and out with the throw. 2 ground ball outs. Technically 3. And 1, 2, 3 go the Angels. Second we go. Yellowwood bringing the lumber. And the last 2 games for Brad Miller have been great for the Rays. Last night, providing the game winner into right center field. A double came in the 10th inning, scoring Wilson Ramos. Then on the heels of the Sunday victory the Rays put up over the Red Sox at the Trop when he hit a 2-run home run in the 8th en route to a 5-3 victory. 1-0 the count to Brad Miller.
Well, Brad Miller had really been struggling compared to what he had done a year ago before he got hurt. But since coming back from the injury, he really has been on point, much more in rhythm at the plate. You know, of course, he's got that high leg kick, so that everything has to, the timing has to be very, very good, and it has been since he's come back. He's been very productive.
That's late catching up there.
That's a great example with that leg kick, and then all of a sudden Ramirez comes with 96. He did not get the leg down in time and was late getting the foot down, and then the swing will follow suit.
This went off the mitt of Maldonado, in and to the backstop. 2-2.
That's why those hitters that have that high leg kick, the best way to pitch them is back and forth, you know, fast, slow, change up, pitch them backwards. You just try to get them a little bit off balance and out of rhythm. Like that's perfect example of it right there. The 2 fastballs, he then follows up with the breaking ball, and you could see Brad Miller completely out of sync mechanically in that swing. Just like he was with the fastball, he didn't get the foot down in time. Now look, now he tries to slow down that front leg and not take as high of a kick, and still was way out in front.
It's a Danny Echeverria. Comes in hitting .220. And that's going to be a strike on the outside edge. Echeverria 0 for his last 20. And that will take care of that. A base hit up the middle. And he's aboard with 1 out.
Nice reverse jinx right there, Dwayne. You should talk about it until it happened. And Echeverria, you know, one of the best ways to get back on track is to stay back and use the middle of the field. And that's what he did right there on the hard slider from Ramirez. Not a bad pitch at all, but good coverage right there, and stay up the middle.
Now Shane Peterson, 8 of 14 on balls he puts into play with that first pitch, and he's after the first pitch again, lofting a high foul that's out of play, just out of the reach of Maben, back into the stands.
Boy, another first pitch fastball, another first pitch swing by Peterson. I'm telling you, you throw a fastball, it's anywhere near the plate, and Shane Peterson's going to cut it loose. Seen a lot of guys resort to first pitch breaking balls, change ups.
And there's a little tapper foul.
You could see Ramirez there to try to speed up that delivery to the plate just a little bit, not nearly as high of a leg kick. There's been 10 stolen bases in 14 attempts against JC. Echeverria, a guy that will occasionally swipe a bag.
Peterson, a base hit. Echeverria hopping that one as it made its way through the right side of the infield. So back-to-back hits from Echeverria and Peterson. 2 on with 1 out.
Oh, a 2-strike off-speed delivery right there.
Well, the Rays had 2 men on with 1 out in the first when Ramirez went to work with that upper 90s fastball and a slider combo. And here is Jesus Sucre.
This is your guy. Runners in scoring position. He has been very good all season.
And he'll take a pitch inside. 1 ball, no strikes.
A slider that backed up. You know, one of the things that hurts Ramirez as a starter is really no changeup. He uses his curveball, the slow breaking ball, as his changeup, his change of pace pitch. So I think if he's going to stay as a starter, that's going to be something that he's going to have to develop.
Into the dirt, this one to the backstop. And both men now will be in scoring position as a result of the wild pitch.
Maldonado really didn't have a chance on that one at all. This ball yanked into the dirt right away. And you can see he slides over. He's trying to make himself as big as he can to block that ball, and it's able to sneak by. And now the Rays have a real threat here, second and third, and a pretty good count to work with a guy who has thrived in these situations.
Yeah, Sucre hitting .367 with men in scoring position. And ahead of the count, 2-0. Can he come through again? A ground ball to short. Simmons, with a lot of time, takes care of that. So that's the second out as Echeverria crosses the plate. And Peterson goes to third. The Rays claim the first run of the game.
Another early lead. And Sucre seeing exactly where the defense is playing him. You know, you realize you stay kind of in the middle of the field and you're going to drive in the run if you make contact. And that's exactly what happened. Routine ground ball to short, but it gives the Rays that early run.
Well, the Rays continue to get some production out of the catching spot this year. Sucre picking up the RBI. Now Peterson's at third. Malik Smith the hitter. And the breaking ball is in for a strike. Curveball, strike 1. Two. Rays left 2 in the first. They have a man at third in the second inning with 1 run across the plate. That's Shane Peterson at third base. Smith starts to go, but he checked. And it's 1-2.
And a really nice job there by Maldonado in smothering that pitch. We just saw one earlier in the inning get by him and allow some base runners to move up. That right there Another breaking ball. And not an easy block at all, but boy, again, he makes himself big, widen that stance just a little bit and able to keep it in front.
There's a little tap, first base side, a foul ball. Well, you get the feeling, if you're Maldonado and Ramirez is on the hill, you're going to have a busy evening behind the plate. We've seen it already in the first couple innings.
The curveball is a pitch that, you know, saw him bounce that. We've seen him yank a slider. You know, he's got plus stuff and a lot of hand speed. So there are going to be some sliders and some breaking balls that are going to get away from him. That tone got set on the first pitch fastball of the game that he clanked right back to the backstop.
And the 1-2 pitch again. Way wide.
Well, even the way he caught that. You know, that's a 97-mile-an-hour fastball with a lot of arm side run, and that was not the cleanest receiving you've seen from a catcher. That ball running away and making sure that thing's still in there.
Yeah, so the guy who's getting the best workout so far in this game is Maldonado. That's a fair ball back of first, handled by Valbuena, and the Rays settle for one and leave one. 1-0 Tampa Bay. Ending with Albert Pujols set to lead off against Alex Cobb. Pujols homered his first time up last night, connecting off Jake Faria.
Well, tried to run a fastball up and in, and he's a guy that you better get it there, because if not, he is so strong, and you could see that ball, and Malin Smith had a real shot at it a little bit early on the jump. That ball actually hit the back of the wall on the way down. That's how close that was to being caught. It was not, and you just add it to the list of Albert Pujols home runs, which is quite extensive.
Well, he faces Alex Cobb now, and the first pitch is in there. Fastball for a called strike.
Boy, going right after him. A lot of first pitch strikes from Alex Cobb.
This one down a bit. Pujols with the 14 home runs this year, 9th on the all-time home run list. And a liner and a left. One hop in front of Peterson. Pujols is aboard. Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Albert Pujols chasing right now Sammy Sosa. He has 609 and Pujols 605, 9th on the list. Jim Thome certainly within reach. Bonds, Aaron, Ruth, Rodriguez, Mays, and Griffey Jr., then Tomey and Sosa, followed by Albert Pujols.
Well, he's put together just an unbelievable career. I'll tell you.
Yeah, for a guy who had trouble attracting attention of major league organizations to even sign him. There's Escobar. Want to know the count?
Kind of reminds you of Mike Piazza, you know, getting drafted almost as a favor for Tommy Lasorda, and look at the career that he put together. End up in Cooperstown.
Ground ball through the hole on the left side. So back-to-back singles here to start the bottom of the second.
Well, and for Alex Cobb right now, you just got to lock it in, deep breath, and say, hey, listen, I just need to get another ground ball because, you know, with Albert Pujols leading off the inning with a single, he's going to clog up the base paths. I mean, it's going to take 2 or 3 more hits to score him. And so you're just saying to yourself, if I can keep the ball on the ground, eventually I'm going to have a chance here to get a 2-for-1.
Cobb has thrown 10 double play ground balls this year. And here's Andrelton Simmons. Shortens on the bat, and the pitch is a strike. He does a little double take there on that call.
You know, and here's the interesting thing, what the Rays are doing defensively. Because Albert Pujols is out at second base and you're not worried about Escobar being able to, you know, run past him, they're not even holding him on. Logan Morrison well off the bag playing behind Escobar, so Escobar is able to get the big lead, but who cares? You can't go anywhere.
A little bit wide there, and it's 1-1. Ground ball outside of third. Now 1-2. In the game, Cobb pitched against the Angels at the Trop earlier this year. Simmons had 2 doubles. He had 3 plate appearances, 2 doubles, and a walk. And Cobb would love to get him to hit a ground ball right at one of the Rays infielders here.
Yeah, since the middle of May, Simmons has swung the bat extremely well for this Angel team. On top of that, the stellar defense that he gives you out at shortstop, he's been something else.
2-2. This is what he's done the last 11, hitting .385. He's pushing .290. He was in the 250s when the Rays saw the Angels. And a cut and a miss fastball, and he throws it by him.
Well, did you see how big the swing got for Simmons? I mean, the swing got big, it got long, and I think the Rays were anticipating that. That's why you try to crowd him with the heater, and you could see he just didn't have a chance. Once those hands get separated from the body, out away from it on a fastball in, you're just not going to be able to get to it. And they're able to tie him up and pick out a big strikeout.
One out after the back-to-back base hits. Now here's Luis Valbuena, the first baseman.
Boy, it has been a struggle. It's been a struggle for this Angel team all the way around offensively. Scoring the fewest runs per game in the league. They don't hit many home runs. They'll steal some bags, but that's about the only positive they have going for them on the base paths. And I don't think you have to worry about anything happening right here. And we see some action with Alex Cobb out on the mound on the base paths, but with Escobar and with Pujols out there, not going to happen.
Mike Scioscia, 18th year as the manager here, the Angels. Had a big year in 14. Led the major leagues in wins with 98, and then in the ALDS, Kansas City took charge of that series and disposed of the Angels. Now the count is 0-2, breaking ball, and he could not hold. Cobb ahead of Valbuena. Angels have spent a lot of money here. You know, they started last year strong, mid to upper 160s, finished with a payroll of over 180, and this year started again in the mid 160s.
Yeah, Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels, has shown that he will do whatever it takes in his mind to win. I mean, that's his primary goal. You got to love that.
Ground ball, Miller. Echeverria 1, and the throw to first 2. They get the 4-6-3 double play. And so a couple of base hits, a man left. They do not score. 1-0 Rays through 2.
On, and it is our second night in a row of late night with the Rays. We're getting to know Jake Faria, who grew up just 5 minutes from Angel Stadium, and we asked him if he were to get stranded on an island, who would he hope that he had with him?
Arch, because he's definitely finding a way to get off. Like, we're either Arch or Odo, because I remember him talking about how, like, I think it was Odo that got them out of like a little like panic room or whatever in the off season or spring training. So one of those two. Just Arch's mind's never going to stop trying to figure out how to get off the island. So I think that would be a good one.
They would have to know how to build a boat. I guess that would be the first thing. But also, Dwayne, BA, have you all heard of those panic rooms?
Yeah, we're in one every night. It's called the broadcast booth.
Whoa, now.
I like
up
that.
There. I'm in a happy room down here.
Well, no. Oh, Alex, before you run off, now set me straight on this. What is a panic room?
Yeah, they're kind of cool.
Is that the?
There are these new areas. Oh, hey guys. But you can go with a team of people. It's kind of a team bonding experience, and you have to figure out different ways to get out of these rooms. They give you different clues. It's very. I think it's kind of 3D too, so you don't know if you're on an island. You could be in a desert. It sounds pretty fun.
By any chance, do they have netting in front of them?
No, you know what? I'm going to tell you something right now. No way. No way. Oh, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. I wasn't looking at the monitor. It's nice. Nice touch. I would never want to be in those panic rooms.
Here's the drive off the bat of Dickerson. That's going to one-hop the wall. Extra bases coming here, and he's into second ahead of the throw. Leadoff two-base hit for Dickerson, his 25th, and boy, it's good to see him 2 for 2 already to start this game.
Well, that's what you kind of wondered. You know, when he hammered that breaking ball in the first inning, first at bat, you say maybe that's something that gets you going. And another breaking ball in a similar spot. Really, J.C. Ramirez, a big mistake right there, and Dickerson, makes him pay for it with a leadoff double, and the Rays right back in business. Would you want to do the panic room, like 3 or 4 of us go somewhere where we're trapped and we got to figure out a way to get out of there?
No, I'd find something better to do.
Yeah, yeah. There's got to be something on the TV, some sporting event.
There's a strike to Evan Longoria.
You wonder how open-ended those are, like how long they keep you in there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a time? I mean, they can't just let you die in there, right?
They could.
I mean, I guess they could. Depends on where you're doing it.
Evan takes a pitch in off the plate. That one in the mid-90s. It's 1-1.
I will tell you this. There are some people, and Dwayne, there are some people close to us I wouldn't mind stuffing into a panic room.
Boy, the night is early, too. We're already there.
They may still be awake.
This one up the right field line. Calhoun on the run. He's going to be there to make the catch. A tag at second. Dickerson will advance to third. Nice catch by Calhoun, who plays a very good right field. And Dickerson advances after that grab.
Yeah, and the momentum of Cole Calhoun takes him a couple extra steps. He doesn't turn and get that ball in right away. And a nice read by Corey Dickerson. Watch this as the ball is caught. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then up against the wall. And that allows Corey Dickerson to tag up and get over to third rather easily. And gives the Rays another nice scoring opportunity. Runner on third, less than 2. We got to get him in.
Well, Logan Morrison struck out on a 99-mile-per-hour fastball in the first. This went down and in, getting that back foot out of the way. Well, Morrison in the top 10, tied for 9th and runs batted in with 57. Now it's 1-1. That one stayed in just a little bit. 2-1.
Yeah, he tried to go with that fastball. It started in off the plate. Obviously, Logan Morrison at that velocity is going to give up on it and then get that little bit of action. And he almost got it to that inside corner. That's a nasty pitch.
Now 98 trying to catch up, and the count is 2-2.
I tell you, he has dialed it up here against Logan Morrison. And I guess what? When you're in an unfavorable count against a guy who's got as many home runs and RBIs as Logan Morrison, you are going to dial it up.
And a guy who earlier this year hit a home run off here.
Yeah.
So, boy, he is, you're right, 99 now, 98 on that last pitch. Into the dirt, covered up by Maldonado.
And that's why you start to think about Ramirez and you think about a changeup. How effective would a split, a changeup, anything mimicking that fastball be? He's got to use his curveball as his change of speed pitch. Those 81 mile an hours right there are the curveball. And that's nice, but that's not a, as a starter, a changeup with his kind of stuff would really help him out, I'm telling you.
And there's a foul ball off the breaking ball. Well, you would think somewhere along the way that idea has been discussed. He spent time with the Phillies, Arizona, Seattle, Cincinnati, and now the Angels. And boy, what an arm. He'll be 29 next month. So if it's going to happen, it's time.
It is. It being a starter.
Yep.
All those other stops, you're coming out of the bullpen, and we see guys get away with the fastball slider combo, and maybe another, the curveball too. the boys as starters, the changeup become important.
Hey, that'll get it done. Long shot back into deep center. Trout's going to look up, and that baby is out of here. Home run for Logan Morrison. On a 3-2 pitch, Morrison unloads to make it 3-0, hitting his 25th home run of the year. Well, some tough pitches and a great matchup the first 2 at-bats for Morrison. He struck out in the first and has his way with this pitch here in the third. A home run to center field.
You know, Logan Morrison in the batter's box is no dummy, and he knows when this guy wants to go for the swing and a miss, it's been the fastball. And he's been able to get that by him a number of times here already in this game, so he sits 3-2 heater, got it started early, made him pay.
Now deep short, knocked down Simmons. He picks it up and throws, recovers in time to get the hustling Steven Souza Jr.
And that's why you go back to where that changeup would be effective. That at bat probably wouldn't have even gone on that long, but you get to full count. You need that swing and a miss, and the pitch that he had been going to over and over again to get it was the fastball, and Logan Morrison's just, you know, he'd seen enough of them. Chad Mottola checking in to see exactly what he was thinking up there at the plate.
There's a tap by Miller, and he fouls it. That's a strike. He was thinking he'd like to hit a fastball over the center field wall.
Yeah, well, listen, just get a feed of the broadcast into the dugout. We could have told him that.
There
Saved him the conversation.
On the ground, and a nice hop for Simmons. He makes the play, and the Rays are out in the third, but not before Logan Morrison unloads a 2-run home run. And we go to the bottom of the third. The Rays with an early 3-0 lead. Tonight's Geico great moment on this date back in 2001. The Rays defeat Atlanta in Turner Field for the first time. Fred McGriff, 3 for 4 with 2 home runs and 4 runs batted in against his former club, propelling the Rays to a 9-1 victory.
I'll tell you, that always feels good to go back against your old team you've played for and hurt them. Get on the mound, pitch, beat them, hit a couple of home runs, have a big night offensively.
Well, here the Rays off to a good start, leading 3-0, bottom of the third. Martin Maldonado, the number 8 hitter in Mike Scioscia's lineup, 9 home runs, hitting .251. Alex Cobb with his 1-0 pitch. Fastball wide. Cobb gave up a couple of base hits to open the second, got a strikeout, and then a double play ball.
He finally did get that ground ball. That's what we were talking about with the bases clogged up.
High popper. Echeverria coming in toward the mound, waiting for that one to come down.
Alex Cobb vacating the mound. Those pop-ups around the pitcher's mound, you know that it's baseball protocol. You're just not supposed to catch them.
You just get out of the way.
You do. Let the professionals handle it.
You know, when you look on this infield now, at where that ball was popped up left side, you've got Echeverria and Longoria. You guys settle it between the two of you, and you go after anything you want.
Trust your judgment.
Here's Cliff Pennington. No ball, no strikes. Tough to get much better than those two. Longoria and Echeverria defensively. Two and 0. Cobb comes in here 1-2 in 5 prior starts against the Angels. 3 of those starts here. He's way behind Pennington. And a walk to the number 9 hitter. 1 out pass puts a man aboard for the top of the order. Watch Rays baseball for a retro price with the new Rays Flex Pack. Save up to 60% off the single game ticket price and get 5 lower level tickets for just $75. Get a Rays retro hat with each pack purchase. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit raysbaseball.com/flex. Rays up. Well, here's the top side of the order for the Angels. Cameron Maybin hit a liner to short, knocked down by Echeverria, who then threw him out. And as Maybin shortens on the bat, he withdraws it and takes the pitch for a ball. Rays 5 over 500 for the first time since June the 30th of 2015. First time they've been 5 over this late into the season since 2013. They were 92 and 71 that year.
Beach ball, Dwayne, beach ball delay, and that happens here.
And now a beach ball has come onto the field and deflated.
Now he looks to be in good spirits.
We have a few of those here in Southern California.
Oh.
Over to first, they picked them off. Pennington picked off Jerry Davis on the call. And so Alex Cobb erases the base on balls.
We've seen him do that. Well, this is what, the 5th? I'll tell you, he gets the feet moving quickly, and then he's very short with his arm action and accurate, and he got him dead to rights. That's part of the scouting report that Cliff Pennington didn't get.
Now a strike to Maybin. It's 1-1. Well, 7 steals against him coming in, 3 caught stealings, and now 5 pickoffs for Alex Cobb.
That's pretty remarkable for a right-handed pitcher. And I'll tell you, he's gotten some good base runners too. Some good base stealers, some quick guys. And that's demoralizing. You know, your team's already down 3-0. You get a walk out of the 9-hole. Now you're looking to maybe try and build something at the top of the order, and he picks you off.
Cobb at the top of the list with a lefty, Daniel Norris.
Yeah, that's who typically you're going to see up there. There's a built-in advantage. they've got the ability to deceive with their move, where a right-hander just has to have super quick feet, short arm to the ear, and be accurate with his throw to even have a chance. But to have 5 pickoffs, that's outstanding.
And strike 3 called on the outside corner. Maben caught looking. We're going to move into the 4th inning with the Rays leading 3-0. Rays from Angel Stadium.
Wait a minute, how did they do that?
They perform magic routinely
Yeah,
in the truck.
Time out. Yeah, that's pretty good. That is pretty good photoshopping right there, because that's the infamous Todd scooter that he rides over the rainbow.
Yeah, and we thought he took that with him, but apparently not. Pitch is fouled straight back out of play by Echeverria.
It looked pretty convincing, like a legitimate photo.
Sure, it did. Was it? Or was it not?
It was not. No, see, because that's angry face. That was on a completely different look. And I don't hold my hands anything like that when I'm sitting down.
A little bit wide right there, and the count is 1-1.
I love the story behind how the photo got taken in the first place.
I don't know what you're talking about.
By you, my man. You tell the story.
A little chop to the right side. Pennington with the pickup.
Yeah, I mean, that was the story of, hey, man, everybody's doing it.
It was a whiteout trip from Atlanta. And everybody had their white attire on. Hopped on the bus at the end of that series, waiting to head to the airport. And one young Todd Callis was a little late arriving. And we said, look, we have to photograph this moment. And there was the scooter. And he said, really? And I said, of course, everybody's done it. Well, of course, no one had done it.
Which is the best.
And so we have that epic photograph of that fine young man. And we'll keep it forever.
Yeah, he went side saddle. And we have had him drive that scooter to places.
Yep. He's well traveled.
Yes, he is.
2-0 the count to Shane Peterson.
The best route we ever took him on was the rainbow over top of Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. I mean, that was death-defying.
Oh, for real. For almost all of us.
Hopper into short left. Maben coming on, and he will not be able to get there. Now the hustling Peterson on his way to second, and the ball skips by Pennington. Boy, for a moment it appeared that Peterson might be running into the second out of the inning, but he's safely in at second.
You know, those are the risks that you're going to see the Rays take, and you really can afford that when you've got a lead like they do. And Shane Peterson playing the game hard, hits a little bloop out there that's going to drop in front of Maben. And Maben, you know, not A-plus effort in coming in on this ball. And so Peterson sees that and says, you know what, I'm going to press the action here. And he does just that. He gets in safely. Throw gets away.
So Peterson runs himself into scoring position at second base. And who's up but Jesus Sucre, who loves to hit with men in scoring position. Pitch first one blocked by Maldonado. Sucre came through with a ground ball to drive in a run in the second inning. Came into the game hitting .367 with men in scoring position. And there's one into right center field. That's going to be in there. Here comes Peterson in to score, and Sucre comes through again. I'll tell you, Jesus Sucre is something special with a man in scoring position.
It really is special. There's no doubt about it, because Jesus Sucre, you know, hitting down there at the bottom of the order. But boy, oh boy, does he go on high alert when he sees the chance to drive somebody in. Nice job of staying inside that pitch up in the zone. Let that ball get in there, and then he just shoots it out into right center. Almost got it by Cole Calhoun for extra bases. Well, you got to love the Rays offense here. Already with 4 runs, but they just are continually applying pressure.
Now Mallex Smith takes a pitch at the bottom of the zone, a little low, says Pat Hoberg. Well, the Rays have had hits in every inning. They've scored in 3 of the first 4 to build a 4-0 lead. One and one.
Yeah, the one inning that Ramirez did not give up a run was the first. Of course, that was his most vulnerable inning of everything that you see on him, and a very good inning for the Rays. But they've more than made up for it since.
And a big cut and a miss. 1 and 2. The Yankees have beaten the Red Sox in 16 innings. It's a 4-1 final. Action in the Angels bullpen.
I'll tell you, that's a bad loss for Boston. You got Craig Kimbrell on the mound in the 9th inning with a lead, and Matt Holliday goes 443 feet into left field to tie it up, and they almost played another game.
And as a result, the Rays are now 3 games back, running second.
Do the Rays catch Boston on this trip, or wait till they get home? I mean, that's
that'd be,
you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tell you, the confidence of this team is running sky high right now, and you can see why. You know, the bullpen is starting to come into form. You're starting to see roles being assigned. The starting pitching continues to get the job done. They're scoring enough runs, but there's more there. There's more in the tank for this team offensively. They're showing you that here tonight. And Kevin Cash has to be thrilled. Defense has improved.
Well, a strikeout of Mallex Smith will get Corey Dickerson up, and he is 2 for 2. Average back up to 312. Takes one wide. Foul back, 1-1. Rays winning last night. They won 6 in a row here at Angel Stadium. And they lead the season series 3-2 this year, dividing a 4-game series at Tropicana Field 2-2, and winning last night's game in 10 innings 2-1. A 4-run lead in the 4th inning of this one. Too close, 2-1. Evan Longoria on deck. 2 outs in the inning. Lifted foul and headed for the seats. 2-2.
Yeah, this is a part of the Rays' schedule, and they've played, you know, a tough one in the first half of the season. But they open up the second half facing 12 teams in a row, or 12 games in a row, that have gone into the break under, you know, 500. And I know this is a West Coast trip, and those can be very difficult. But you've got some vulnerable teams here, and I think the Rays sense that.
Well, the count is full. Well, the Rays, with their last 2 wins, the win over Boston before the All-Star break and the win last night, are certainly morale boosters, without question there. And to take 3 out of 4 from Boston at home at the Trop. Runner goes, the pitch, a swing and a miss. Dickerson out on strikes. Rays are finished in the 4th. They add a run and lead 4-0. Well, the Rays are up in this one. The Toyota inside look with Alex Cobb on the hill through 18 starts this year. And the last 6 especially impressive.
Well, and there's the big reason why. When you take a look at the turnaround, you're limiting base runners, number 1, but you're keeping the ball in the yard, number 2. So you limit home runs, you limit base runners, you're going to limit opportunities for the opposition to score, and he has really cut those numbers. He cut that ERA in more, almost in half. The record obviously improving, but doing a great job, like I said, keeping the ball in the yard, limiting walks, limiting hits. He's really found a comfort zone in his new approach with that curveball taking precedence over the changeup.
First pitch to Calhoun misses. Calhoun followed by Trout and Pujols. Cobb got Cole Calhoun on a ground ball to short back in the 1st. Ground ball to 1st this time. Morrison takes care of it, and that's the 1st out.
You know, we were going to talk, Dwayne, about the usage. You go back to 2014 and Alex Cobb's last full season in the big leagues. His overall usage of the split change was 38.2. This year it's at 15, way down. The curveball usage went from 20% up to about 34.5, and he's also increased the usage of his fastball another 8% to make up for the difference. So that's where the difference has lied, and it's just really impressive that he's been able to do that really as the course of this season has moved along, staying competitive.
Here's Mike Trout taking a pitch down. Well, the curveball is such a great pitch for him. He'll change speeds and locations with that pitch.
Yeah, he's advanced enough, you're right, to be able to drop it on the outside part of the plate, pull it away from a right-handed hitter, or leave it in the middle and just try to drop it below the zone. You know, a lot of guys, they just throw it up there. They're hoping for a strike. He's able to locate it. That's a big difference. Like
How about that? A 2-0 pitch, breaking ball for a strike.
And what do you do as a hitter? You go, well, if he's willing to throw a 2-0 hook, then he's willing to do just about anything.
And there's a base hit through the hole on the left side, so Trout is aboard for the first time.
Yeah, maybe one too many times to the well. He got another curveball there. I don't think Alex obviously was comfortable in coming with the fastball right there in a 2-1 count after all of the curveballs, and he really shies away from using that split change to right-handed hitters.
Well, coming in, Trout was 5 for 9 with 2 home runs. And we mentioned at the outset, these two hitters, Trout and Pujols, are the two who handed him any damage that has been done against Cobb in this Angels lineup. One on, one out for Pujols. High fly ball, right center field. Souza Jr. is going to have room, and he makes the catch. He's going to fire back to first, and back in there is Trout. Souza Jr. got over there and actually covered some ground and made a comfortable catch on a ball that for a lot of outfielders would not be that comfortable. He found his spot out there to make this catch and then a throw back.
Yeah, he was shaded though. You can see where he started, and then you just drift back. You make the call right there, Alex Smith, and then you turn, and with that big arm, he rifles one back in there. But Mike Trout able to scramble. He was out at second base and able to get back. Souza Jr., I'll tell you, his outfield play out there in right has really, really improved. He has solidified that part of his game. Outside of line drives that get lost in the lights, and I'm putting up air quotes. His decision making has been pretty good.
Escobar leaning away from that pitch, 1-0.
Still one of the highlights of the year. The dive after the line drive in right center, that he was a good, what did they say, end up like 26 feet away from?
That's about right, yeah.
And I'm not a huge fan of this version of Souza Jr. coming out of the break. He's been pretty quiet. He's not giving us a whole lot to work with. Way too focused.
When you least expect it,
yeah.
here it comes.
Always on the edge of your seat.
Oh, a drive hit deep into left field. Peterson will go back to the track, and he got it. Peterson to the track and right in front of the wall. Takes care of that drive off the bat of Yunel Escobar. A hit and a man left. They do not score. And a nice grab by Peterson on this one. Through 4, a 4-0 Rays.
Going on Late Night with the Rays, catching up with Jake Faria, and we asked him if a genie popped out of his cell phone, what would his 3 wishes be?
My first wish, probably to have mine and Jessica's wedding paid for. Have that all covered. Second wish, probably my dream car. I want a 1969 Dodge Charger. The third wish, I would probably, I don't know, I'd probably let Jessica pick that one. She'd probably pick something more practical than what I would pick.
And Jessica is Faria's fiance. They just got engaged right before he was called up in June. Humble guy. He wants to give his wishes to Jessica. I thought that was sweet.
I think it's not only sweet, but I think it's a reflection of who he is. And that's impressive. Longoria with a ground ball out, handled by Andrelton Simmons.
I'll give you 2 things. Quick study he is.
Yep.
Smart guy.
Yep.
Smart guy. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
We've all heard it.
Yep.
Okay, that's one. Number 2, that picture of you, was that like, that looked to be a picture of you approximately 20 to 30 minutes after taking a couple of Timasil.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, well, it gives you that look.
It does?
Yes, it does. That is Dwayne Stats.
That's a happy life.
On Timasil. Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah. No, it's really good.
Morrison takes a pitch down.
And if you're wondering what Timasil is, just look it up. Related to Arrested Development, and it's really, really good stuff. And when you look to see what the effects are of Timasil and go back to that picture of you, you'll lose it. That's it. That's Dwayne Stats after taking a couple of Timasil before he goes on the air. That's it. That is too good.
We should just all be like that all the time.
I can't have you looking at me that long like that.
Now it's 3-0 here to Morrison.
We're finally back into the swing of Late Night with the Rays.
Took just, a little run through first.
It did. It did.
3-1. That's what meetings are for.
And we had one.
Yes. It was kind of fun.
It was kind of fun.
Souza Jr. on deck. Rays out here on the West Coast. Winning last night. They have a 4-0 lead in this one. Big blast by Logan Morrison in the 3rd inning. A 2-run home run, his 25th home run of the year. Gives him 59 runs batted in.
Full count heater, and he was waiting for it, and you could see by the way he got rid of the bat, he knew what the end result was going to be.
(3-2), and he taps it foul. One out with the bases empty. And he draws the walk. MLB.TV Premium back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. The Rays have a man on with one out. Here's Steven Souza Jr. And a liner right back at Ramirez, and they get the double play. Morrison doubled off first. Now the Rays do not score in the fifth. The double play ends the top half of the inning. It's a 4-0 ball game, Tampa Bay. Bottom of the fifth inning. Next Saturday, the Rays host the Rangers, and the first 15,000 fans take home their very own DJ Kitty onesies presented by Suncoast Credit Union. Visit RaysBaseball.com today. How about that look right there? And what a performance.
There's not one move that I could replicate. That's very impressive.
That has a chance to be a big night.
It's going to be.
Get the onesies, put them on immediately.
Yes. It's
a ballpark full of onesies.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, we're going to push it. People are going to come out.
Yeah. And if you're afraid they might run out, bring your own onesie. It'll be a onesie night. It's the first 15,000, right?
Right.
Okay.
And then, yes. You're going to go past that, so you're going to have to bring your own. It's going to be a whole convention right there on site.
That'd be great.
We've only heard about these things, never actually seen it.
That has a chance to be the top promotional item of the year. Can't wait.
You know what? We ought to do the Open in a onesie.
I think that'd be a great idea.
We ought to do the Open that night in the onesie. Period. End of discussion. I'm doing it. I don't even care if it gets me suspended.
And the pitch is a ball, 3-0. Yeah, consider it done.
And I'm not kidding. I'm putting it on, and I'll get the phone call. I get it, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, just because you want to go all solo.
There's Peterson on the run, and he makes the catch on a line drive off the bat of Simmons.
By the way, have you seen the video circulating? You know that a big deal now is the gender reveal parties.
Yeah.
People love the gender reveal, and there's a ton of different ways to do it. One of the ways that I've seen do it is, you know, a golf ball off a tee. Okay, it's blue, it's a boy, and think it's a girl. But then I've seen the baseball. Have you seen the one floating around where the you know, mom-to-be is about to toss up the baseball to the father, and he's going to take a swing, hit the baseball, and it's going to tell everybody male or female?
Yeah.
Well, she comes way too far in. It's a soft toss.
Well, location is everything.
Yes, and she comes in.
Yeah.
He can't get the bat started, and it's way in the kitchen, and it drops and hits. And there you go. It's revealed right there by him taking the pitch. It hits the ground, busts open, it's pink, and it's been ruined because Mom came way in, up and in on Dad, and he couldn't get it started.
That's part of being
at least
successful.
Not at that time. He couldn't get it started.
Yeah, it's all about location.
Yeah, well. Yeah, so
1-2 the count to Balbuena.
If you haven't seen that one, I suggest taking a peek at it because he's not real happy when it doesn't work out.
Balbuena takes this one to left, and Peterson, who's been busy out there. On the last 3 hitters, he went to the wall to get the ball hit by Escobar to end the 4th, and that was handled both these by Simmons and Balbuena. Well, the Rays lead 4-0. And a note just sent to us by noted baseball historian J.R. Reynolds.
Oh, boy.
Tells us that when Alex Cobb has gotten 4 or more runs to work with, he is 32-0.
Precisely the reason that we're talking about onesie conventions and gender reveal parties.
They are.
That's a pretty good stat right there.
Yeah. Well,
I'll tell you what.
Suffice to say, the Rays have the right guy on the mound. 2 outs. Base is empty.
This really is starting to turn into a panic room for me.
It's outside. 1-1. Late night with the Rays, folks. This is game 2 of 6 on the road trip.
I just got elbowed while you and JR are giving high fives over the top of my head.
That's a great statistic right there.
It's a tremendous.
One to celebrate.
Apparently.
Ground ball to short. Echeverria up with this one, and the throw to first in time. 1-2-3 go the Angels, and we will go into the 6th. 4-0 Rays. Yeah, that's a strong beard. A lot of protein.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what you need for that.
I just
Swing
like
and a
the,
miss.
I just like the smirk when you said it.
I mean, that's a strong beard right
It
there.
is. There's no question about it.
Just a cameo appearance on Late Night with the Rays.
That could possibly be something built around that beard.
Yeah, and speaking of beards, Brad Miller's at the plate. The count is 1-1.
Yeah, he used to have, maybe a week tops, week 10-day beard in that range, and now coming back from injury, coming off the disabled list, he's going straight Brad the Red.
Well, I got to tell you that with the game winner last night and the home run against Boston, you kind of like the beard even more.
Yeah. I'll tell you, his comeback swinging a hot bat.
I mean, he keeps this up. They'll have to follow up the onesie night with a Brad Miller beard night.
They did it for Keuchel.
Yeah.
They did it for Dallas Keuchel. I had one. And I hope that photo never, ever gets out, or I am toast.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that. The chop to the left side. Escobar whips the ball across to first. So 1 out in the 6th. Danny Echeverria. He had a base hit and scored a run. Scored the first run of the game. Sucre got him home on a ground ball out. Morrison hit a 2-run homer in the 3rd. Sucre singled home Peterson in the 4th. Pitch is a strike around the knees. Echeverria 1 for 2 on the night. The chopper foul. Down to third, Escobar again across to first. 2 up and 2 down right now. Tonight's Unlimited Baseball Break brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, Jose Altuve, how about this for the last 23 games for the Astros second baseman, hitting .446. And Madison Bumgarner back after that dirt bike accident sidelined him. And so he started that outing by striking out the side in the first inning. Long drive off the bat of Peterson, and right in front of the wall, Mike Trout in left center handles that. So a 1, 2, 3, 6 through 5.5, 4-0 Rays. Base run came in the second inning when Jesus Sucre's ground ball got Danny Echeverria home from third. Logan Morrison battled his way to a 3-2 count and homered, taking a fastball over the center field wall with Dickerson aboard, and then Sucre again in the fourth inning followed up the Shane Peterson double with an RBI single, accounting for all the scoring in this game so far tonight. Rays lead 4-0, and Alex Cobb set to go to work in the bottom of the sixth inning. Just 56 pitches through the first 5.
11 per. I mean, he really is being very efficient using his defense. And so far, making that lead hold up, attacking the zone and forcing these Angel hitters into early swings.
Pennington walked on 4 pitches in the third. A little tapper foul. So Cobb has even been efficient with his walks tonight. A 4-pitch walk to Pennington. And that's the only one he's given up.
Yeah, and then picked him off.
Yeah, picked him off. That's the height of efficiency, +1.
How about that?
His 5th pickoff this year. A ball, 2 strikes. Cobb coming off a 1-0 win over the Red Sox. It was a week ago today. He pitched 7 2/3 of 2-hit baseball in that outing. And he strikes out Pennington. He went upstairs with him that time.
Yes, he did. I'll tell you, we don't see Alex Cobb do that very often, but he can be very effective at climbing the ladder with the fastball, and he does it here. You get so ready for the breaking ball or the changeup down in the zone that he rushes that up, letter high. Pennington just cannot get there. At 91, he beats him.
Here's the top of the order, Cameron Maben. The line drive, and it's right at Echeverria. So 2 gone.
2 quick ones right there. Hey, Dwayne, I've got something that you need to do tomorrow. That right next to us is Spanish radio for the Angels.
Yep.
Jose Mota and Amari P. Gonzalez.
Yes.
And
2 great guys, by the way.
Tremendous guys.
Very hospitable.
Yes. Well, very hospitable.
Yeah.
And offered me and you a little bit of espresso. And it's the real stuff. Mark Langston came in. I told him what had happened. He said, hey, this stuff
Yeah, only one of us a night
Yeah.
can have that.
Yeah.
So tonight was your night.
It was my night, and let me tell you something.
Great guys right there.
It puts you in the right spot. I mean, things are moving quick. That's all I'm going to tell you.
It's inside the Calhoun.
Great stuff.
Yep. That's Manny Mota's son over there, one of the greatest pinch hitters of all time.
So I highly recommend day game tomorrow. Roll out of bed, come over here.
Immediately.
Oh, boy.
Get after that.
Yep.
Yep. They had some nice pastries over there, too. Did you imbibe?
I did not.
Yep.
I did not. They looked, I actually felt myself gaining weight looking at them too long. So I tried to, get out of there as quick as I could. And by the way, after the espresso, I got out of there pretty quick.
Now 3-0 the count. There's a live shot.
Yeah, that was right at, well, no, that was actually earlier in the season. Well, I got to get back to that beard. I decided to take that off, and I'm not a big fan.
So you're going back?
I am.
Okay. 3-1 now to Calhoun.
Not quite like that. That's the Brad Miller style.
Big cut and a miss on the fastball. So the count goes to 3-2. I'm telling you, the Brad Miller looks a pretty good look with the beard.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of potential there for a promotional item.
I'm Brad the Red.
Yep.
Brad the Red.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take over. I mean, it's getting close to just making his mouth obsolete.
3-2 skied the other way, and that's going to be out of play. So not a lot of deep counts for Alex Cobb. I think he went 3-2 to Maben back in the third and got him looking. He was 3-2 to Calhoun, 2 outs, bases empty in the sixth.
I mean, the second inning is your high water mark at 13, but we said it earlier in the game, a lot of first pitch strikes from Alex Cobb, and he puts these Angel hitters on alert that if they want to sit back and wait him out, they're going to be down 0-2 with regularity. So it forces early swings, and he's been able to avoid this right here, second walk, but he's been able to get those early in the count, weak contact, and keep his defense busy.
So Calhoun heads to first, and Mike Trout will be the hitter. Well, the Rays have held a 4-0 lead since the fourth. And because Cobb has been so efficient, not many opportunities for the Angels, but with Mike Trout up there, that's a scoring opportunity every time he steps into the batter's box. Ground ball, and Echeverria, can he find it? Throw to second is not going to be in time. Echeverria got over there, stopped it, and could not get a throw to second in time as Calhoun is safely in there.
Yeah, you've got to credit Cole Calhoun there on his hustle down to second base. Obviously, he's going to be running on contact with 2 outs, but Echeverria, first of all, he gets to this ball, knocks it down, but Cole Calhoun is busting it, and he's able to get in there quite easily, actually. Well, now you got to start thinking about making some real quality pitches.
Well, Albert Pujols, who is 1 for 2, hit the ball deep to right center field in the 4th inning. The pitch is inside, 1-0. So the Angels, with a significant 2-out threat going, Thomas pretty much sailed through the first 5 2/3, but a walk in the infield hit, bringing Pujols to the plate. And a pitch up. 2-0. Sucre ready to fire to second if Calhoun takes too much of a liberty. And that's a strike. From a 2-0 curveball, and so it's 2-1.
We saw him do that earlier to Mike Trout, and then a 2-1 curveball that he was able to rip into left field for a base hit. Does not like to go with the split changeup, at least at this point, to right-handed hitters, especially dangerous ones. So you kind of limit yourself here to 2 different offerings. Looks like he's going to go with that spike curveball. You can see that index finger come up.
And as you might expect, he uses that changeup, that split, more to left-handed hitters than he will right-handed hitters. And a little tapper foul. That'll take the count to 2-2. So the biggest pitch of the night for Alex Cobb about to be made here. leading 4-0. But Pujols at the plate with 2 men on and 2 men out in the 6th. Fans trying to get into the moment here. 2-2 the count. And a little tap to third, fair. Stepping on the bag, Longoria to retire the side. 2 men left, and we go to the 7th. 4-0 Rays.
Here at Angel Stadium, we are just about 8 minutes away from Disneyland. And since we are so close to Sleeping Beauty's castle, it was only appropriate to ask Jake Faria what his favorite Disney movie is.
Cars.
Why is that?
I love cars. I'm just a huge, huge car guy.
Do you have a favorite line from the movie? Or a favorite character?
Favorite character? It'd probably just be Lightning McQueen. He's just cool, and he's really fast. That's what I like. I just like fast cars. So.
Dwayne, and I also found out last night, actually, from BA that BA has a soft spot for Disney. He loves Disney movies. So, BA, what is your favorite one?
Oh, I don't know. It depends on the season. Honestly, it depends on the season.
What?
Yeah, I mean, we get into the fall, winter.
Everything is sports for you, my friend.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I do love Disney. That was it. When we grew up, when I was growing up, our vacation, our family vacation, was to pile my sister and I into the family truckster up in Ohio, and we would zip it on down, and we would stay in Zephyr Hills.
Yep.
Grandparents had a seasonal trailer down there, and we would go down and we would vacation in Zephyr Hills. So there was that trip over to Disney World, and you do that at an early age and you fall in love with all things Disney. And then you meet people that actually stay on Disney property, and you think to yourself, these people must be beyond loaded.
They're printing money.
Oh, they have to be.
Yeah.
They have to be, because we would always trek back to the trailer in Zephyr Hills.
Yeah. You once told me that your favorite Disney movie was Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, starring Kurt Russell.
Okay.
Did you see that one?
Yeah. I've never even heard of such a thing. And Kurt Russell is not real happy that you even accused him of being in that.
There's a strike. 3-1. That was the start of everything for Kurt Russell.
Well, it may have been, but it culminated in Miracle. Or no, you know what? Tombstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best
Tombstone
of all time.
Yep. It's another one of those movies. You catch it at any point in the hotel room on a road trip, and you've got to finish watching it. Doesn't matter what time of night.
Yeah. That not only is fun, but it's just a moral obligation that you finish watching the movie.
Yep. Dirty dozen. It's reached dirty dozen status.
Yep. Sucre up here against Yusmeiro Petit in the game in relief of J.C. Ramirez. And the 3-2 is popped up. Simmons at shortstop. So 6 innings for Ramirez, 4 runs, 8 hits. Now the top of the order, Malik Smith will be up there. A whole list of great movies that you could get into. Have a Kurt Russell night, or week for that matter. Want to know the count to Malik Smith. Looking for his first hit tonight. Swings over this one. 1-1. Line drive. There's the first hit of the night for Smith. Base hit into right field. So the Rays put a man aboard with 1 out in their half of the 7th. Reminder, here's what's coming up tomorrow on Rays Live. The pregame show is presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. We'll be with you at 3 o'clock, and Chris Archer will be on the mound. We'll hear from him, and Orestes will break down Albert Pujols, the 9th leading all-time home run hitter in the major leagues. Here's Corey Dickerson. He's had a good night, 2 for 3. With a run scored, he doubled to open the 3rd and scored on the Morrison home run. Alex Smith putting the oven mitt on.
Got to protect that hand and wrist. Thinking about going head first. We saw Mike Trout with a little modified version coming back from his thumb injury.
Yeah, those bags don't give.
No, remember they call them the Hollywood style. And you've got a post coming out of the bottom of that bag. It goes straight in the ground, and that's just the way it goes. That thing is not going to move.
One ball, 1 strike. Smith 11 of 15 running this year. And the pitch is a strike. What do you think about this? Malik Smith has the pocket on his left hip inside out.
Yep.
With replays being what they are today, something like that gives the defender something else to tag. And if that thing's flying around, you touch that, I mean, that might cost you a stolen base.
You're absolutely right. And that does become a target. That thing flips up, and a swipe tag catches that. Well, you're out now. So you really have just given the opposition a small advantage, potential advantage.
Smith out there with his lead. He's on the move. The pitch is a ball, and the throw pops away. Pennington trying to take the throw and could not glove it cleanly. And steal number 12 now from Alex Smith.
Yeah, and I want to see if that ball got glove or it actually hit Malik Smith. The timing of the throw arriving at second base was right on par when Malik Smith got there. Gets a pretty good jump. And here it comes. And that ball just kind of squeezes by.
So Simmons could not come up with it cleanly.
Actually, the left arm of Malik Smith got to the glove before the ball did, and that's why Simmons was not able to corral it.
It's fouled back, 1-2. We're in the top of the 7th. Rays have picked up a stolen base. Smith in scoring position for Corey Dickerson, who's down on the count, a ball, 2 strikes. Petit on the mound in his first inning in relief of J.C. Ramirez. And we'll go to 2-2. Evan Longoria on deck. High fly ball, right center. Trout couldn't find it, and now it's going to drop behind him between Trout and Calhoun. Smith's going to go to third. That's going to go as a hit, and Trout just could not find it out there. And it fell behind him and out of the reach of Calhoun.
You know, you've got dusk right now, and so that the sky here almost looks like the inside of the roof at Tropicana Field, and can be tough from time to time. And you know, Mike Trout, an obvious, very accomplished center fielder, and this was a sky-high fly ball, and you could see he just cannot find it. That rubbed-up baseball meshing with the sky, very similar color. And Corey Dickerson, I'll tell you, you got it started at the first inning, you get another hit.
3 for 4.
That's it.
Here's Longoria. Evan 1 for 3 tonight. Starting to stop by Dickerson off first. Rays now in double figures with 10 hits. And that one just missed. Maldonado holding it out there, but a little off the plate. And a fly ball toward left center. Trout will make the catch tag. Smith's going to head to the plate and he will score. Rays pick up their 5th run. A sacrifice fly for Longoria. And with that, Evan picks up his 55th run batted in. No chance with the speed of Malik Smith, who scored easily.
I think Evan was trying for the Corey Dickerson style hit.
And you saw almost all the infielders immediately pointing to where that ball was. Here's Logan Morrison. Pitch is outside. Morrison with a 2-run home run in the 3rd. That opened it into a 3-0 ball game. It's now 5-0 Rays. One and one. Yankees beat Boston earlier in 16 innings. Rays started the day in second place in the East, so they're now second, 3 games back. The Yankees third, 3.5. So if the Rays hang on to win this one, they'll be 2.5 back of Boston.
They continue that slow climb.
And they've done it by playing competitive and beyond baseball. Pitches low. The throw goes into center field on the steal as Dickerson picks up his 3rd stolen base of the year. So the Rays with a couple steals in this inning.
I think Corey Dickerson steals that base with the idea, you know, that high fly ball deep out there in center field that fell behind Mike Trout. You're thinking, you know, or Corey Dickerson's probably thinking too, I should have been on second base and not a single. It should have been a double. So eventually I'm going to get myself out there, and he does it by swiping the bag.
2-2 to Morrison. Now he pops it up on the right side of the infield. That's Pennington, the second baseman, making the catch. And the Rays pick up another run. We're in the middle of the 7th, 5-0 Tampa Bay. Brought to you by your local Ford dealer and by your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. Well, the Rays in Anaheim tonight, moving on to the bottom of the 7th inning. And there was last night's production meeting that's led to all the frivolity this evening. And you can see Steven Souza Jr., an honorary member of that production meeting.
Yeah, how about that? He straight jumped us. Photo bombed by Souza Jr. And you know what? We said coming out of the break he hadn't given us a whole bunch. Well,
there it is.
Now he has.
Yep, he's the gift that keeps on giving. Making sure he's properly positioned out there and right as Janelle Escobar's. It's ready to open the bottom of the 7th for the Angels against Alex Cobb, who's made 74 pitches now through 6 innings and has a 5-run lead. Pitch is upstairs, 1-0. Simmons next, and then Valbuena due. Middleton getting ready to loosen in the bullpen. He has a big arm out there. Into center field, Malik Smith positioned perfectly, moved a step to his left to make the catch. Next Sunday, The Rays take on the Rangers, and it's Christmas in July at Tropicana Field, meaning all kids 14 and under receive a Chris Archer emoji pillow presented by Moffitt Cancer Center as a gift. Visit RaysBaseball.com today. Andrelton Simmons takes the pitch down. Simmons has struck out and lined out to left. There's one into center field, and Alex Smith is right there to grab this one. 2 gone. Well, Alex Cobb 2 outs into the 7th inning. So he's gone 6 innings or more now in 7 consecutive starts, and has given up no runs on just 3 hits and a couple of walks tonight. 4 hits now.
And not getting it done with big strikeout numbers. He's getting it done by being efficient, pitching to contact, using his defense. He's been outstanding. You know, 2 of his last 3 starts coming into this one were scoreless. Of course, he went the 8 shutout in Pittsburgh, did not get the win in that game. And then, of course, against Boston right before the break, 7 and I believe it was a 7 2/3.
7 2/3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Both
2
of them,
hit, no run baseball.
That's it. You know, those 2 games you combined for 15 and 2/3 innings, just 4 hits and no runs. Talk about a guy that's capable of pitching deep and limiting an offense and doing it without overpowering it. He doesn't have the 95, 97, 10 punch outs. He's got 3, but can still be very effective.
And he's behind Valbuena. Well, he got a big strikeout of Andrelton Simmons back in the 2nd inning when Pujols and Escobar singled, put men at 1st and 2nd with nobody out. And at that point, the Rays led 1-0. He got a strikeout of Simmons and the double play ball out of Valbuena, and has not looked back. Three-one, fly ball back into center. Smith to the track, to the wall. Did he get it? Reaching over, hanging over there, and back he comes. That ball is gone. Simmons trying to climb the wall, and Luis Valbuena has just hit his 7th home run of the year. It's 5-1.
Now that is the 13th home run on the season that Alex Cobb has given up. You're going to see the pitch right here. Boy, he goes down and does a nice job, Valbuena that is, of getting underneath that ball down in the zone, but it was out over the plate. And Alex Smith again coming very, very close, but just a little bit short. But what I was going to say was Alex Cobb, in giving up those 13 home runs, 10 of them have been solo shots. And that's something that you can live with. He doesn't get beat with the big 2- and 3-run homers most of the time. Just a byproduct of challenging guys. You've got to lead. There's no reason to be shying away from the strike zone, and every once in a while, these guys, somebody's going to get you.
Breaking ball hit on the ground to short. Echeverria handles that. 7th inning is over. Angels get a run on the home run by Valbuena, and the Rays lead 5-1. have a 5-1 lead. We go to the 8th, and Alex Cobb, 7 innings in the mid-80s in pitch count, allowing a run on 5 hits. He's been very, very good again tonight, making his 19th start of the year. And we'll go to the 8th with Steven Souza Jr. set to lead off. Keenan Middleton, with a very strong arm, makes his 31st appearance of the year.
A strikeout in an inning, a perfect record of 2-0, and an ERA of 4.00 as he learns his trade here at the big league level. And you're right, he can light up a radar gun.
And the first pitch, 97 to start the 8th inning. Steven Souza Jr. with a 1-0 count. Ray's got a run off Petit in the 1 inning he worked. Couple of hits, 4 runs, 8 hits in 6 innings off Ramirez. Trying to catch up with the fastball. It's 1-1. Middleton out of the 2013 draft. There's a shot back into deep left center field. That ball is well tagged and out of here. Souza Jr. caught up with that one and hits his 18th home run of the year. Boy, a blast by Souza Jr.
Took aim at the cameraman out there and had pretty good aim.
Oh, he drove that ball out of here in a hurry.
Boy, did he ever. Souza Jr. can make some loud contact and follow this baby.
Great extension. Now Miller hits it on the ground, and Pennington at second takes care of that.
Well, as you could see, Dwayne, last night he was part of the production meeting, and it rubbed off on him. We've picked up our game here, and Souza Jr. has too. Here, watch, follow this right into the hut. My goodness.
He really is part of the production crew, taking aim at the crew. He means business.
Watch your lips out there.
Echeverria on the ground to the right side. Pennington handles that one. 2 gone. I mean, that's an expensive piece of equipment. Now watch this one. Wow. Took out the center field camera. There should be some hazard pay for those guys out there with Souza at the plate.
Yeah, a number of these guys capable of reaching them.
Strike 1 to Shane Peterson. Foul ball. Well, 18 home runs. That's a career high for Steven Souza Jr. Got the rest of the season to go.
You know, he's already set his career high. Logan Morrison did that a few weeks back.
And that ball's headed up the middle. Pennington tried to backhand it, wound up kicking it into left center field, but it's going to be a base hit. A 3-hit night for Shane Peterson.
This is what makes this lineup so dangerous. You know, obviously they can hit home runs, the long ball a big part of what they do, but on any given night, any spot of the order for the Rays is extremely dangerous. And Shane Peterson out of the 8-hole has 3 hits. Jesus Sucre out of the 9-hole has driven in a couple of runs.
Yeah, the Rays have a dozen hits, 6 runs. They lead 6-1. And here's Sucre. His ground ball to short in the second inning opened the scoring. Hitting Echeverria home back then. It's 1-1. Liner into center. That's going to fall for a base hit. Sucre has his second hit of the night. Peterson advances to second. So a home run, 2 ground balls, and then 2 base hits to follow. And we'll see the top of the order, Malik Smith, come up for the 5th time tonight. Conference on the hill. Pitch is wide. Smith picked up a base hit in the 7th, as well as a steal and a run scored. Now a strike and a throw down to second. And that's not in time to get Peterson. Sucre back in at first. The base left undefended there.
Like Andrelton Simmons coming across the bag and faking a throw to Rocco Baldelli.
And Rocco didn't have a glove, so he wasn't going to catch it.
No.
Popper back into left. That'll carry to Maben. He's got it, and the Rays are out in the 8th. But they pick up a run on the leadoff home run by Steven Souza Jr., number 18 for the Rays right fielder. And it's 6-1 Tampa Bay.
Take a look at the work of Alex Cobb here so far. He's back out for the 8th inning, but the first 7 have been outstanding. There's that big strikeout of Andrelton Simmons. They get the ground ball double play after that. Here that comes. That was runners on first and second and nobody out. Then after a walk to the 9-hole hitter, Pennington, he picks him off and then goes to work. The fastball has been good. We've seen him elevated a couple of times here, picking up a strikeout there, the one to Simmons too. And apparently that was in real time right there. So that's ball 1. I thought maybe it was another strikeout.
Cliff Pennington has walked and struck out. He's part of that. Fouls it right back into the screen. 1-1. Well, tonight's jackpot brought to you by the Florida Lottery, and the line so far for Cobb, 7 very good innings. Just 5 hits and a run, a couple of walks, and 3 strikeouts. It's 2-1 with Pennington. Three and one. Braves will have Chris Archer on the mound tomorrow. There's Brad Boxberger up in the Rays bullpen. And a long one down the right side. If that's fair, it's trouble, but it's a foul ball. A long strike to take the count to 3-2. The Orioles are listing Parker Bridwell to pitch tomorrow. He pitched briefly with the Orioles last year.
That's a desperate team. A desperate team that is sliding fast. Had that great comeback in yesterday's game, only to see it fall short with Addison Russell homering to eke that game out for the Cubs. As Cobb, how about this now? Cobb, with that out right there, has in his last 7 starts has now logged 49 innings. So he's averaging 7 innings a start for the last 7, and then counting. But the last time I checked tonight, Baltimore was getting handled pretty well by the Cubs.
Yeah, the Cubs won that game 10-3. There's a strike on the out edge. Maben up here. Grounded out, struck out, and lined out. It's 1-1. Close, but off the plate. 2-1. Back into left field. Peterson backs up and makes the catch. 2 outs. Let's take a look at our Bonefish Grill catch of the game. And for that, in the 4th inning, Escobar hits this ball a long way to left, and Shane Peterson is right there to make the catch.
Boy, tracking that ball well and going up, catching it right before it gets to the wall. Rays defense has played a big role here tonight because there have been some balls hit hard they've made nice plays on. Everybody's been busy. Alex Cobb has struck out, I think, 4 at this point, and we're 2 outs into the 8th. And relied heavily on that D.
And a strike fastball by Calhoun. Two strikes the count. Now to play. Bottom of the 8th. The Rays have led throughout the evening. They opened with a run in the second inning. Scored 2 in the third, another run in the fourth. Added a run in the seventh. The Angels got a run in the seventh, and the Rays added one in the eighth. So it's 6-1, bottom of the eighth.
That's been something that really has plagued this Rays team too. Scoring some runs early, and they would go quiet, middle, late part of the game. And tonight, able to keep that pressure on all night.
That ball is going to be a fair ball, just fair, bouncing into the stands for a double on an 0-2 pitch. As Cobb reaches 100 pitches, Calhoun picks up a double, his 12th of the year.
Yeah, and Alex Cobb is furious out there on the mound right now, and I think with himself and the location of that pitch, he's not happy at all. 0-2, and he's going to go, look, you can see the grip. He's going to go with that spike curveball, and he left it up and away, and that gave Calhoun a chance, and you could see immediately squatting down, hoping that ball squirts foul, and it did not.
But it puts a man in scoring position with Mike Trout due up. Cash and Hickey talking it over and pacing in the dugout. Trout 2 for 3. Couple of base hits, an infield hit to short in the sixth. Single into left in the fourth inning. Too much time, and Trout receives time from Pat Hoberg. The pitch inside, 1-0. A little wide. He falls behind 2-0. Cobb marched back up the hill on the mound after missing for ball 2. Pujols on deck.
Yeah, these guys, Dwayne, you documented it early, have given him trouble, and he is really trying to make perfect pitches here to Trout.
And a foul ball down toward the coaching box and Ron Renicky. 2-1. Boxberger up again in the bullpen. Too tight again. It's 3-1 on Trout. You can see 104 pitches for Cobb. He made 111 in the outing against the Red Sox last Saturday. 116 is single game high this year. 3-1. And Trout walks. So that puts a runner at first, Calhoun at second. Albert Pujols will be the hitter. Kevin Cash comes out of the dugout. Well, Cobb got the first 2. Cuts for the double by Calhoun, and now the walk to Trout. Call to the bullpen brought to you by the Florida Lottery. The Florida Lottery presents the Family of the Week for Life scratch-offs with a top prize of $5,000 a week every week for the rest of your life. The longer you live, the more you keep winning. That's Winfinity. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly. Boxberger follows Cobb, who worked 7 2/3.
Well, we covered the first 7, and they were obviously very good. And Alex Cobb trying desperately to get through that 8th inning. There's that big strikeout again to Simmons. He relied on his defense here tonight. 4 strikeouts. The 3rd walk obviously would end his night. Did have another pickoff. He's got 5 of those on the season. Puts him right at the top of the leaderboard. And another deep, effective, very good outing by Alex Cobb. I'll tell you, he's been some kind of impressive, and is in line over his last 7 starts to run his record to 4-1 and lower that 2.38 ERA over that stretch.
Brad Boxberger, the new pitcher for the Rays. He was in the game for an inning last night, the 10-inning game. The Rays won 2-1. Boxberger got the win. This pitch is fouled straight back and into the booth, and a great grab back there. Way to go, Brian.
That was a catch, baby, because that ball had some hair on it.
Hold that baby up. Way
right
to go.
There. Yeah. Boom.
That was strong.
That was legit. That was really good.
Upstairs. Oh, his pen is broken. Fortunately, that's the only thing broken.
The spirit of that baseball's broken too.
Ground ball left side. Echeverria with the toss to Miller takes care of the Angels in the 8th. We go to the 9th with the Rays up 6-1. Is brought to you by your Southern Chevy dealers and by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. We welcome you back to a beautiful night in Southern California, beautiful Anaheim, discovered by the Germans.
It was.
Anaheim, it was. And that might be one of the founders of Anaheim right there, late night with the Rays.
You know what? That right there, the eye patch, was developed here in Anaheim. Produced, developed, and worn. Anaheim discovered by the Germans.
It was. The Ana side of that. Anaheim, the home on the Santa Ana River, and the German settlement in the late 1850s came here to plant vineyards. It didn't work out, and so oranges became the crop. Pitch fouled back here by Corey Dickerson. Heim, meaning home in German. Anna, the river. Home on the river, Anaheim.
You know, I was wondering, because you've been really good at when we're on the road. You give the names of the city, you know, the Charm City, all that stuff.
Hey, a shot into right center field. Here's another hit for Dickerson. So for those of you who are wondering when it was going to start to turn around for Dickerson,
yeah.
I think it's tonight. He's 4 for 5.
And he got it started early. And that was something that we thought could happen. You know, he had a hard hit in the first inning into right field for a base hit, and it really has jump-started him. Another extra base hit here. But all that explaining that you just did right there about Anaheim, you couldn't fit that into the open.
No.
See, you had to wait till, because I knew you had something. I thought it was going to be the home of Mickey Mouse. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could have gone with, but you stayed away from it because you had good stuff for late in this game.
Well, San Diego was not discovered by the Germans. Anaheim was.
No.
1 ball, no strikes here.
I believe Santiago. It's the body part of a whale, I'm certain. Certain. That's where I've heard that somewhere.
Oh, we can agree to disagree. 1 ball, 1 strike, the count on Longoria. And a high foul ball well out of play down the third base side. 1-2.
I've just been told I should probably sit the next couple of plays out.
But Jumbo Diaz is up in the bullpen. Rays building a 5-run lead and an automatic or an immediate threat. I don't know if it's automatic, but it's almost been that way for Dickerson tonight with 4 hits. And Longoria is out on strikes. So Alvarez strikes out the Rays' third baseman, and that's going to get the left-handed bat of Logan Morrison up. Morrison homered in the third, also has a walk. The ball, no strikes to count to Logan. One now. And a cut and a miss by Morrison. Now a ball, 2 strikes. Rays got 4 runs off the starter, J.C. Ramirez, in 6 innings. Petit 1 inning, 1 run. Middleton 1 inning, 1 run. Alvarez now has given up a double. Runner at second with 1 out, 1-2 the count on the Rays' first baseman. That's a foul ball, just foul up that first base line. And Morrison gave it an extra look down there after Jerry Davis had made the call. Morrison trying to wish that one fair. The home run he hit in the third is 25th of the year. Morrison having a career year here for the Rays.
Change in approach. You know, trying to get that ball in the air more often, and with his strength, that has paid extreme dividends. You know, Logan Morrison has enough of a track record where you can go back and look at his ground ball and fly ball breakout, and this year it has taken a wild swing in favor of getting balls in the air, and it's led to this right here. An increase of home runs already has set a career high, a couple above what he did back in 2011. And it'll be interesting to see just how far he can set that bar.
Dickerson off second. Morrison started to go, but he checks. Takes the count to 2-2. Now, the other thing the Rays have been able to do, as good clubs who start to make a move do, they may not win 10 in a row or 12 straight, but they win a lot of series, and that's what the Rays have been able to do in recent times. Took the first game last night. There's strike 3 called, and Morrison turns around and heads back into the dugout. So the Rays have won or split 14 of their last 17 series. So they've won 10 series, split 3, or lost 3 and split 4. So that's a pretty good run, and as a result, they moved into second place. An intentional walk to Souza Jr., so they wave him down to first. The Rays started the day in second place, and they have an opportunity to move to within 2.5 of Boston. Red Sox lost to the Yankees. There's Brad Miller on the ground, a chopper to Pennington. His throw to first. The Rays will leave 2. They do not score. And as we go to the bottom of the ninth, the Rays lead 6-1. To you by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. We go to the bottom of the ninth inning in Anaheim, where the Rays have built a 6-1 lead. Winners last night in 10, 2-1. And they'll have Jumbo Diaz heading to the mound, following Alex Cobb and Brad Boxberger.
Cinco de Mayo. I remember that. Kind of.
It's a good look. Some people just look good in hats.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that looks like I have a cone head.
I think that's a great look there. Blue, obviously your color, different shades of blue. They all very complimentary.
That was one of my favorite storylines of Arrested Development when Tobias tried to join the Blue Man group because he thought it was a support group for depressed men.
Well, a reasonable assumption.
Well, he was an understudy, so good for him.
So here we go on to the bottom of the 9th inning. Yunel Escobar will lead off. Escobar, Simmons, and Valbuena due up. High pop up, and that's a foul ball out of play. Strike one. Escobar singled in the second, hit the ball back to the left field wall in the fourth. There's a little tap, third base side, picked up, but no play. Longoria tried to barehand it, could not field it cleanly. And a little infield scratch hit for Escobar.
I thought at first that Evan was going to let that ball go because even if he comes up with that clean, he does not have a play on Escobar at all. He's playing deeper. This ball topped and chopped, and he's coming in. There just was no play to be made, and didn't matter one way or the other.
There's Simmons fouling a pitch away. Strike one. Simmons 0 for 3. A couple of line drives, one to left, one to center the last 2 times up after he struck out the first time around. Lifts it up the right side, long run. Souza Jr. trying to get there, but it's a foul ball. And the count is 0-2. A long run by both Souza and Morrison. Morrison out from first base trying to catch up to that one. Into the dirt. It's 1-2. Davis last worked 8 days ago, and he throws this one by Simmons. A fastball at 96, and that's the first out here in the bottom of the 9th inning.
You know, that was a very similar location to where Alex Cobb got Simmons. That fastball up in the zone close to him when the swing starts to get long. And again, he cannot get to it. That's paying attention.
Well, here's Luis Valbuena. He homered in the 7th inning, accounting for the Angels' run. He starts to go and checks in time. It was a fastball at 97. Now 2-0. That'll be a strike. 2-1. Diaz worked in the Boston series that last time out. 1 inning. Gave up a walk. No hits, no runs. And drops the slider in there for strike 2. It's 2-2.
Able to come with the off-speed delivery, although it's hardly off-speed at 89, 90 miles an hour, but was something different in a 2-1 count than the fastball. There's the grip, there's the rip.
And now back with a fastball, and it's fouled back. 2-2. Martin Maldonado is on deck. 1 on, 1 out in the bottom of the 9th inning. Cobb for 7 2/3, a run on 6 hits. Boxberger a third. And now Diaz 1 on, 1 out in the 9th. There's a long one to right field. Souza Jr. back. He's going to look up, and that one is out of here. A 2-home-run night for Valbuena, and that makes it 6-3. He's driven in all 3 runs for the Angels.
Well, it's been a disappointing season for Luis Valbuena, but here's a glimpse of what he is capable of. This pitch stayed in the zone, and boy, he just let it get in there, and then launches right here. Gets the hand started, that ball right out over the heart of the plate, and Valbuena drops it right above the high wall out there in right field when they've halved the Rays' lead.
Now a swing and a miss from Maldonado. And the Rays have action in their bullpen now. Colomé up. Caleri to lefty. High fly ball, left center field. Peterson is going to be there and make the catch. And that's out number 2. So 2 outs here. And Cliff Pennington about to step in. Pennington with a walk and 2 strikeouts. Pitch inside, 1-0. There's a strike, now 1-1. So Diaz touched for a couple runs here in the 9th. Swing and a miss on the fastball up. We got Pennington to chase that one up out of the zone and sets the count at 1-2. And a cut and a miss. This one is over. The Rays are winners. It's a 6-3 final. The Rays have taken the first 2 games of the series, and they've won another series. And they moved to within 2.5 of first in the American League East and moved to 49 and 43 on the year. Cobb will get the win. He's 8-6. Ramirez the loss, 8-8 before 38,515. in a 6-3 final for the Rays over the Angels. For Brian